Have you ever held back what you wanted to say or swallowed your boundary simply because you didn't want to be perceived as difficult or too much? It's so easy to look at people who confidently hold their ground and assume that they just don't care about anyone else's feelings. We watch them speak up without flinching, and maybe we think, I could never do that. I'm not that kind of person. I don't want to start an argument. But what if I told you that you're trapping yourself in a black and white scenario that doesn't really exist? If we haven't met before, my name is Christina Solis, and I help you find your words, feel heard, and step into your power. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that our only options in a tricky conversation are either to be quiet and accommodating or be a loud, aggressive monster who leaves a wake of destruction. We think it's an either or, and that's actually not the reality. There is a middle path, a completely different MO called assertiveness, and it's going to change everything for you. So let's first flip the perspective on what it actually means to be nice. When you stay silent to keep the peace, or drop hints instead of asking for what you need, or even agree to do a favor when you're already super busy, you tell yourself that you're doing it to be kind. You might even tell yourself that you're protecting the other person. But let's look at what that actually creates in your life and your relationships. When you aren't direct, you force the people around you to be a mind reader. They have to guess how you're feeling, analyze your mood, and walk on eggshells just to try to figure out if you're actually okay or pretending to be. And then on your end, every time you swallow your truth, it turns into a brick of resentment. Eventually, those bricks build a massive wall between you and the person you're trying so hard to protect. Has that ever happened to you? So let's be honest. Keeping your mouth shut, dropping hints, and stuffing your needs down isn't actually nice or doing anyone any favors. It's confusing, it breeds resentment, and it's exhausting for everyone involved. Which brings me to the ultimate upgrade you need to make in your mind before you enter your next tricky conversation. I want you to write this down, put it on a Post-it note, and say it to yourself on a regular basis. Being clear is being kind. When you're crystal clear about your boundaries, your capacity, or your preferences, you aren't shutting people out. You're actually handing them a map of exactly how to love, respect, and work with you. You're taking the guesswork out of the situation. Giving someone a clear answer is a form of respect that you can offer them. Now, I know what you might be saying to yourself. Okay, but Christina, if I'm that direct, won't I sound aggressive? Or won't they still think I'm being too much? All right. Let's establish a safety rail right now so that you can stop panicking about how you're coming across. There is a massive difference between aggression and assertiveness. Aggression is all about control. It's about dominance, crossing into the other person's side of the court and trying to make them small so that you can feel big. It sounds like you can't do that, or you have to listen to me. Assertiveness, on the other hand, is simply about self-ownership. You're not trying to control them, change them, or overpower them. You're just sharing your human wants and needs. You're standing on your side of the tennis court and saying, this is what I need, or this is where I stand. So unless your goal is to actively hurt or control someone, it's pretty much impossible for you to be too much. You are allowed to exist. Okay, great, cool. But how do we actually do this in real life? How do you speak your mind clearly while keeping your natural warmth and likability intact? There is a way. You serve them a poop sandwich. Okay, hear me out. This is my ultimate 3-step conversational tool that allows you to wrap a firm, unshakable boundary inside a warm blanket of deep human connection on both sides. There's only really 3 simple layers. Layer 1 is the top bun. You start with kindness and connection. You bring in your natural warmth. You show appreciation, validate their idea or where they're coming from, or acknowledge the relationship. This lowers their guard because you're not coming from a place of an attack. They don't need to have their guard up. Layer 2, the poop. The clear, straight boundary. This is your middle layer. You state your preference, your no, or your boundaries directly. You don't apologize. You don't make excuses. You don't water it down. And then layer 3 is the bottom bun. Validate your connection. You bring it right back around to wrap the conversation in safety. You reiterate your support for them, offer a different alternative, or leave things on a positive note. I like to tell people, here's why I feel this way. I want us to work out. I value our friendship so much, which is why I'm saying something. That's one of my go-tos. All right, so let's talk about a situation that happened to me recently. Last week, I was hosting a call and I noticed that one of the participants was digging in on what someone else was sharing. This is supposed to be a space where we all come together, we share what we're working on, and we cheer for each other. One person was giving tips and suggestions and advice to the person who was sharing. And I was starting to see some tension from the person who was sharing, and the person giving the advice had no clue. So here's how I stepped in. First, I validated how we've grown together as a group and we all want to see each other succeed. I mentioned that I personally wanted to see this space as an area where we could support each other, but to also be aware that we don't know the full picture of anyone else's situation. I closed it off by revalidating that we're in a positive, safe container and that we're all running our own races and there's ways to celebrate that. I literally had a top bun, the validation of that emotional connection that we have, the poop, which was my vision for the space and what to do and what not to do. And then I doubled down on how we can be positive and supportive with my bottom bun. So do you see what happens with this formula? You're not slamming a door in anyone's face. You're building a bridge. You're being completely, beautifully firm while still remaining the kind and caring person that everyone knows you are and that you want to be and you know you are. Okay, but if you're sitting here thinking, all right, that sounds amazing in theory, but I got butterflies just thinking about actually stepping in like that. First, I want you to take a deep breath. You don't lack the capacity to do this. You just need to practice the mechanics. And years ago, I was right there with you. I was frozen against stepping forward and speaking up. My natural flight, fight, and freeze response was just to freeze or even back away. And finally, at some point, I learned that it was safer just to not say anything at all. And sure, it was safer, but it didn't get me anywhere. I was a doormat, and I didn't ever venture outside of my comfort zone. And that's exactly why I created my 4-day Foundations of Assertiveness bootcamp. Inside, you and I are going to step into this work together. I'm going to break down the exact physical and mental steps you need to handle the adrenaline, learn how to deliver your truth safely, clearly, and kindly, and then stop the panic or regret that comes after the fact. If you're ready to stop letting the fear of speaking up hold you back, click the link down in the description to secure your free spot, and day one will get sent to your inbox immediately. You've got this. You're so much stronger than you think, and I'm here with you every step of the way. Talk to you soon.